Uh, okay. Yeah. So there were few questions as to whether at the time of taking the exam, should you be responding it in line with the Jan Vishwas Act, or should you be, um, or should you be, I'm really sorry, there is a little bit of distraction. Some phone calls are coming. So anyway, I put it on flight mode. Let's see. There were few people who were asking as if, as to, because in nowhere in the internet do they see um, some information from the patent office, whether these Jan Vishwas Act related provisions have been already incorporated or not. So I looked at SEC online website, and when you download the Patent Act, it shows you that this has been updated as of 31st August 2023. Okay, so this is a confirmation that these provisions have been updated, which are related to penalty sections. So do look at that video, and when you respond to the questions in the paper, if any penalty related provisions comes in, which is from section 120 to 124 of the Patents Act, then you must keep in mind the changes that have happened as a result of Jan Vishwas Act 2023. Okay, so in today's video, we will be talking about very briefly about the Biodiversity Act 2023, which is again a very new act. So the earlier act has been changed drastically. And why is it important to read it from the patent agent exam point of view? Is because it has a very direct cross section with certain provisions of the Patents Act. There are certain compliances that inventor or the applicant for the patent application must conform to be able to stay aligned to the Patents Act. And recently, at least we've seen it in 2023 question paper, which happened on 7th Jan 2023. We saw biodiversity related questions also being asked. So that is why reading about this new act is extremely important. Um, it is not it is not preferred to read the whole act, certainly, because it's a big act, but at least from the patent agent exam point of view, you must read certain sections which are most important, which we'll be covering in this particular video. Okay, so like I was telling you, there was a question paper, 2023 question paper, which had biodiversity related question. This question was, your client Pad Bio wishes to file a patent application in Indian Patent Office for an invention which uses a biological material from India. And the student was to arrange the options given in a particular order, in a chronology. So it started with the filing of patent application, when to deposit biological material, when to submit biodiversity authorities permission, when would the publication happen, and the grant. So this had to be arranged in a chronology. Um, and though, so the answer to this particular question was hidden in Form 1, Para 12, Subpara 3, which says that if the invention discloses in its specification the use of any biomaterial which is taken from India, then it is necessary that the permission from the competent authority. Now, who's the competent authority? The National Biodiversity Authority. It shall be submitted uh, before the grant of the patent. So it was very clear. So therefore, before filing a patent application, one would go and deposit the biological material to the Biodiversity Authority, then file a patent application as the second thing in the chronology, because whatever is the depositing authorities reference number they would have given you, that has to be included in the patent application. So you will first deposit, then file a patent application, post which the patent application will be published. Now, student got confused whether it will whether the grant will happen first and then deposit the permission that you would have received, or vice versa. So as far as Form 1 is concerned, then submission has to happen before the grant of patent, and therefore point number 5, which is grant of patent, would be at the end. So the correct chronology was 21435. So considering question paper 2023, it is expected that in upcoming exam in 2024, there might be certain questions asked from the Biodiversity Act. And therefore, we are reading certain provisions of this act, which might be very important for all of you to understand, for all aspiring patent agents. Okay, so this particular act, the new Biodiversity Act 2023, it received the assent from President on 3rd August 2023. The act was promulgated already on this date, and therefore it is very much active. Rules are yet to be framed. Now, like I said, we will be doing 3 sections, particularly in this webinar: Section 3, Section 6, Section 55. If I'm going little at speed, please do let me know so that I can decrease it. So first of all, it is about Section 3, which is for the use of the bioresource. Now, just to give you some background, so whenever you are innovating something which is based on biological resource, it could be microorganism, it could be any flora and fauna from the country's soil. So it is very important that a prior permission for the use of that bioresource is to be taken from the Biodiversity Authority. And this is important so that government can take a complete due understanding and due consideration on the conservation of these bioresources, so that people just can't keep plucking it and destroying it and never uh, recreate it there. So therefore it is important that prior permission has to be taken, and there are certain individuals, there are certain entities, there are certain bodies which have to take this prior permission for research purposes, for commercial purposes, and even for biosurvey. So these categories have been listed under Section 3, uh, who have to take prior permission. These are the foreigners. That is a person who is not citizen of India, or non-resident Indians. That means these are the citizens of India but not residing here in the country. Any foreign company which is incorporated not in India, and even Indian registered companies which are controlled by a foreigner. This is the existing new act in the new Biodiversity Act. So what is the difference then? What are the changes that have occurred? Change has happened in this particular statement, wherein in the old act, it used to be the Indian registered companies which had a non-resident participation in its share capital or management. Now, this line has been changed to Indian registered companies controlled by a foreigner. Okay, so this is the change that has happened. So if you get a choice in the exam and they ask you who all are required to take a prior permission, then this is what will be your correct choice. You'll have to choose Indian registered companies controlled by a foreigner, and not the one which is having a non-Indian participation in its capital or management, because that was in the old act. So anyway, this prior permission, by mere reading of this section, is only applicable on these particular entities as we have just called out, and not really on the Indian entities. Then we move ahead and we look at section 6. This is also a revised section. This talks about seeking prior permission of National Biodiversity Authority at the time of applying for an intellectual property right. So for example, if you have used a bioresource and you have invented something over and above it by doing R&D, and you want to protect your invention in the patent application. Now, when you have filed a patent application, then you also have to take a prior permission from the National Biodiversity Authority, and this is to be obtained before the grant of IPRs. So this is how Section 6 is now aligned to Form 1, Para 12 of the Patents Act also, that it has clarified that even before the grant of your patent, you may file your patent application, no problem. You can file any other IPR too, but you need to seek permission of the National Diversity Authority before the grant of that IPR. Now, who all are the entities that are required to take this permission are the ones which are foreigners, the NRIs, foreign companies, as we just talked about in the previous slide, and the Indian registered companies controlled by a foreigner. Under the old act, so what is the difference that has come in this section 6? How is it different from the old act? In the old act, it asked for taking permission even before applying for a patent, even before applying for an IPR. Now you don't have to worry. If you have enough permission for use of bioresource, you have done your R&D, you can go ahead and file your patent application. Just that before the grant of the patent, you need permission from the National Biodiversity Authority. Okay. Now, besides this, in section 6, there are two new sections that have been inserted. This is section 161A and section 61B. These are the new sections which are relevant to the compliances by the Indian companies. Like in section 6.1, we talked about the compliance that has to be taken care of by the foreign entities. Here in section 6.1a and 6.1b, it talks about compliance by the Indian entities. Now, who can be the Indian entities? These could be the citizens of India or Indian registered entities like corporates, association or agencies, right? What are they supposed to do? Under 6.1a, where IPR is being applied for the grant. It could be patent application, trademark, copyright, design, whatever you may be doing, not design certainly, but if you're filing, let's say more importantly, the patent. So although it talks about larger set of IPRs, everything is inclusive. A prior registration with the NBA is required to be obtained before the grant of IPRs. So this registration word does not come into section 6.1 when we just talked about it. It is only in section 6.1a. So these two entities, which is Citizen of India and the registered Indian entities, have to register themselves with NBA before the grant of patent. There is another thing that these entities have to do is to seek prior permission from NBA before the commercialization of IPRs. So please be mindful of where commercialization word is being used, where permission is being used, where word registration is used, who all have to comply with these particular requirements. So you will have to read the Bare Act language as it is and try to memorize it, okay? So that you know when there is a question that comes in the paper, you should know that this compliance is applicable on which entities. So anyway, once this section 6.1 1A and 1B are taken care of by relevant authorities that we just mentioned, the National Biodiversity Authority will then, while granting this approval, will impose any benefit sharing fee or royalty or maybe both, or impose any other conditions, right? Because it is very important that the owners of that knowledge or that community or those who actually gave you the information about how a plant works, what are the use cases, these should be adequately remunerated, right? They should also grow along. So National Biodiversity Authority is giving you permission. While it gives you permission, will also impose certain conditions on you that when an inventor, an applicant, or the assignee of the patent who gets the final grant of the patent is about to commercialize it, should also take care of the local community over there. So these were the important sections. And then there is one section on section, which is section 55. It's a section which has been changed. Um, it says that the non-compliance of Biodiversity Act is no more a criminal offense, right? If you read the language of section 55, it's not a verbatim language, it's my paraphrasing, just to explain this to all of you. It would now be a civil liability with enhanced fines. It is no more a imprisonment or something of that sort. So now it is 1 lakh as a fine for the offense to 50 lakh to even more in cases where damages were huge. If offenses continue, then fine could be more than 1 crore, not more than 1 crore. And that too, it has to be decided now by the adjudicating officer. So there is a new insertion. If you read section 55 fully well, you will find that there is a reference to adjudicating officer. And if somebody is aggrieved with the outcome of decision of the adjudicating officer, you can even appeal it further. So all those have been now included. So earlier in the old act, it used to be a jail for non-compliance or a fine up to 10 lakh or both basis the damages caused. So now it has been changed as I just explained you. So you need to be careful about the penalty section. So if we were to summarize these three, 4 or 5 particular sections which we just talked about, the first thing is about the compliance by foreign or foreign controlled entities. They are required to take prior approval from NBA for the use of Indian biodiversity for research work or commercialization. No such condition is applicable on Indian entities as far as the reading of that Bare Act provision is concerned. Plus, these foreign controlled entities or foreign entities are required to take prior permission from NBA before the grant of patent. For the Indian entities also, there are compliances that have to be done. which are that they must be registering themselves with NBA before the grant of patent or IP. Plus, they need to take prior approval from NBA before IP commercialization. To comply with Form 1 requirement, which we just saw when we were reading the question that appeared, um, both Indian and non-Indian entities, whoever is filing a patent application, right, has to submit prior approval of NBA before the grant of patent. This you must be careful about. And then there is a change in the penalty section, which has been revised. It is no more a criminal offense, it is now a civil offense with enhanced fine. So all these changes have been already incorporated in this master guide to patent agent examination. So this is quite updated, which includes Jan Vishwas Act amendments, Biodiversity Act amendments, and several other updations that had to be done for this year. You can register for all the preparatory classes. You can join the existing batch. This is what I just wanted to say. But this was a small, short, video that I just wanted to do with all of you. So if there are any questions, you can please ask me now. Let me see if there is anything in the chat, which I can't see right now, I think. Um, okay, in that case, I hope that this came out to be an important session for you. If you have any queries, don't fear of that. I mean, you can always come back if you have not got the chance to put anything on chat box right now. Here are the details which are already given. You can send your WhatsApp to this number or even email, and we'll be happy to see if we can respond to those at the earliest. Thank you so much and have a nice day.